Success isn't accidental. It is the culmination of constant and determined and intentional actions over time. We've been talking about consistency. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome back to my 100-day walk to consistency. Today we're talking about how intentionality will set you up for success as you work on your consistency. I'm glad that you're here for day number 85 in our walk. Thank you for joining me. Remember, every day that you show up, every day that you're here, you're saying that I am showing up for myself. I'm building another piece to my puzzle. I'm putting another brick in my consistency and another brick in my success. It is your superpower. When you do it over time, then you are more likely to be successful. Thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead, let's get started. I'll see you on the walk. So we've talked about goal setting, we've talked about structure, we've talked about consistency, but one of the things that ties it all together is this concept of intentionality. Intentionality says that I am going to be intentional. I'm going to be determined to make sure that as I'm moving through my space to success, that as I'm trying to be consistent, as I am working to be a better person, that I am allowing every step that I take to move me in the direction that I want to go. It ties the idea of SMART goals. It ties the idea of consistency, and it ties the idea of that rhythm, alignment, and structure all together, because it is my conscious choice to take action that moves me in the direction I want to go. Intentionality. And that is so important. You know, it's often an interesting thing to listen to people as they tell their stories. And one of the phrases that I hear all the time is this concept of, well, this happened. And there are lots of times when we can't control what happens around us. But many of the times, the things that we say happened didn't just happen. They occurred because of our inability or our decision not to take an action, right? So often we have something that occurs that happened in the absence of our action. And because we did not take action, then that we say that thing happened. And so we want to make sure that we are no longer allowing life to happen to us, that we are being intentional about the things that we do and the ways that we show up. Harkening back to one of our episodes, I think the last one, or actually the last two episodes, I made a comment when we talk about your gifts, right? And your talent and your knowledge. And one of the points I made is that we can't allow people to have to find us, right? We have a gift, we have a talent, we have some knowledge, some resource, some encouragement, some mentorship that we have that we can provide. And for us to sit in our rooms, in our offices, in our homes, and say, well, if they need me, they'll find me, I think that is not a great use of our talents and our knowledge and in our ability to affect the world that is around us. And this whole concept of our legacy that we talked about, this is why that's important. Because our legacy requires that we are intentional about it. And so rather than waiting for people to find us and waiting for someone to discover us, we've got to be out there saying, hey, I've got this knowledge, I've got this skill, I've got this whatever it is, and I am going to provide it for the world. Remember, we talked about having a public and a private way of sharing your knowledge. Walking across the street here, so I'm looking. That's that whole idea, that you are deliberate about it, that you are taking the steps that are needed, that are necessary for you to get that information out. And so intentionality is simply our way of being determined and being strategic, right? Structure, there it is, in our ability to head in a direction that takes us for success. So we're going to talk about the power of intentionality in achieving our goals and in achieving success. That's our episode for today. So why is intentionality a secret to success? Right? Why is it a secret to success? Well, the difference between being busy and being intentional is that there are often times when we can be doing a lot of things, right? There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of action, but the things that we're doing are not moving us in the direction that we want to go. I'm a sci-fi person, and often I think back to like my science labs or some science movie, and one of the things that they taught was this concept of, in physics, vectors. And you can have a lot of vectors, you can have a lot of force that's going towards a particular thing. But if those forces are moving in opposite directions, then guess what? We're not moving. We're stuck. We're right there, right? So you have something of equal and opposite forces. Whatever they're working on is stuck. It's not moving anywhere. And so often we are doing things. We're busy. Our schedules are packed. And there's a lot of busy work, but we're not actually moving in the right direction. So intentionality is coming back to this alignment. So aligning our behavior, aligning the things that we do, aligning our talk and our sleep and our food and our exercise, aligning all of those in such a way that it provides the movement in the direction we want to go. Does that make sense? So intentionality is not just doing stuff, it is doing things with a focus, with a purpose. Look at that, focus, right? Direction, energy, and focus. Direction, energy, and focus. So many people work hard, but they never see real progress, right? Because they're busy, but they're not intentional. Ooh, come on. They're busy, but they're not intentional. They're doing a lot. You look at them and like, man, look at all that. And I have to be very careful about that as well, because I can become very engrossed in the activity and the mood and the stuff, right? The energy that's going into it. But if I'm not careful, then I may find myself doing a lot, but I'm not being intentional. This is a concept that becomes very clear to me in the content creator space. And you may be out there, you may be a content creator, you may even be someone who's working on their health. And there are so many things that you do, right? You're exercising and you're trying to eat well and you're trying to do this and you're trying to do that, but you are busy, but you're not being intentional. What are the one or two things that I can do that will give me the biggest bang for my buck? And let me go to those. And when I'm doing that, I'm being intentional about my activities. Intentionality means focusing on what truly matters instead of just checking off the tasks and the boxes. Oh, man. Oh, I can just land right there and stay there. There are so many boxes that you got to check off. It seems like everybody has a box for you. But intentionality is not just about going through the rote activity of checking the boxes off. It's saying, I'm going to focus on the things that are going to bring me the biggest bang for my buck. And that's where I'm spending my energy, because that is what's going to bring me my result. When we talk about goals and when we talk about activities and we talk about opportunities that may come to you, there are opportunities that are going to come that are not wrong, they're not bad, they're not illegal, they're not amoral, they don't hurt anybody, but they don't take you in the direction that you say that you want to go. And so by virtue of that, that's not an activity that I get involved with. It isn't. Because if I do, it takes me even ever so slightly off course. And then I've got to expend energy to correct the course. and get back on track. And so my goal is not to do that, is not to waste time doing other things. Now, I guess a quick comment to be made here is that there are going to be, as you are growing and as you are moving along this path, there are going to be times when you're going to do something that does take you off course. As a matter of fact, there are going to be times when you choose to do that because it allows you to learn something and to experience something that may not be experienced before or otherwise. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you being in a space where you are aligning your behavior. And so even in that case, when you align your behavior, when something comes along that you want to do, you want to try, you are clear about why you're doing it. It's not with, oh, I think this is taking me in the direction I'm going, and oh my goodness, I guess it didn't. No, no, no. I am clear that this is not in the path. This is not where I'm going, but this is something that I want to experience. I want to learn. I'm trying to get my son to experience lots of different things, lots of different foods and lots of different cultures. Why? Because I want him to be expansive. I want his mind to open up. So there is a space for that. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about you deliberately making a choice that you're going to experience something that you understand is not in the path, but this is for the experience. I want to make sure that you got that point. Being intentional means aligning. It means aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision. Aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision. And it is very windy out here, as you guys see. That is intentionality. I hope you guys are getting a feel and getting an understanding of some things. Right? As we are talking about these keystone principles, look at how they all are kind of pointing to each other. There is a cohesiveness in the keystone principles because they are the pillars, they are the glue, they are the foundation on which everything else rests. And so when we talk here about intentionality, it is natural for alignment to come into this. It's natural for rhythm to come into this. What is the tenure of your life? When you're intentional, then that's clear. And if it's not clear, we are working to clarify it. Right? That's part of what we do. How do we clarify that? That whole idea of the North Star statement. And so what you're doing, you're aligning your daily behavior with what you say the vision is for your long-term success and your long-term benefit. So that's the idea of intentionality and the idea of rhythm, right? The rhythm. What is the rhythm of my life? Where am I heading? Where am I going? And are the things I'm doing taking me in that direction? All right, it's a beautiful day, just windy, and it's a little warmer than we were the last several days. So I'm enjoying this. Yeah, just enjoying the scenery, and you'll see the trees are starting to get a little greener, and the grass is starting to get a little greener here. In our area, this is Alabama, Huntsville. And so this is beautiful for me to see and beautiful for me to feel. All right, so what are some of the pillars of intentionality, right? So what does that mean? So number one, we gotta clarify. And clarify. Going back to our North Star statement and our vision, what are we working for? What is the goal? What is the long-term thing? What is that thing down there, down the road, that we are saying that all of this activity that we're doing right now, all of this movement that we want to make, all of these plans, all of these goals, all of this consistency, all of this resilience and resistance, where is that taking me? What is the ultimate goal? You want to clarify that. What's my highest priority right now? right? This is, you're clarifying. What's the big thing? Now, one of the things that you will find is that at different times in your life, your priorities are going to shift. When you are young and the priority is, man, I got to get out this house from my parents, right? Because you want independence. And then I want to learn, right? So I'm trying to work on my education. My priorities there are different. And when I'm finished with that, I'm going to get a job. I may start a family. I'm building my wealth. I am, or I'm getting knowledge, right? Then I'm building my wealth. And then I'm growing, I'm expanding. So each phase, your priorities are different. Priorities right now can be different, but the ultimate goal doesn't change. Now, it can change. Let me say that. But if the goal hasn't changed, then the priorities are shifting. But we know that we're heading in that direction. Because in order for me to get that vision that I want, I've got to become independent. I got to get out the house. If I'm going to be successful, I've got to learn. I've got to train. I've got to get some knowledge. Then I've got to network. I've got to expand. I've got to get some money. Right? So each time that I move, each phase, I'm adjusting, but my priorities are changing. The goal down there, because I know where I'm heading right now, the goal is the same, but I'm using different streets. I'm going down this place and going, I was like, okay, let me see, can this one get me there? So all of those are things that we want to take into consideration. Does this action align with my long-term goal when you're doing things? In our office, I think I've shared with you that we have a motto that we've come up with. And whenever I'm making decisions about what we do in the office, then I go back and I recite that. As a matter of fact, we did that this morning when I was talking to our team, because there's some policies that we're implementing. And it is with the intention that my practice exists, our practice exists, to evaluate, treat, and educate patients with endocrine disorders. We desire to positively impact the health and quality of life of our customers. We will use innovative technology to help our customers reach their goals. Our team members are valued and empowered to deliver efficient, caring, and compassionate service. We will be the premier endocrinology practice in North Alabama for results and customer satisfaction. That's it right there. So everything that we do, every policy that we put in place is with the intention of achieving that goal. How we do it may be different. We may do it differently today than tomorrow. We make a decision, a policy decision that's different. But the end goal is always the same. Does that make sense to you? All right. So you're always looking. So you want to clarify, is this decision moving me closer or farther away from my success? Now, when we're young, that can be a tough one because we haven't sometimes the experience to identify some of the things that may take us off course. That's why it's so important to have a mentor. Oh, there it is. Mentor and support. Community. Oh, look at that. It's coming on back. I love it. Okay? So you want to ask your question, is this taking me closer or is it taking me farther away from my goal? So we're clarifying. And then next, you want to focus. You want to eliminate distractions and prioritize the things that are correct on your journey. Back to my original point when I started at the top of this episode, that there are things that are going to come. There are opportunities that are going to show up that are going to seem like they are like the best thing. It's going to be like, oh man, I got to make sure that I take this opportunity. But the question is, does that opportunity take you in the direction that you need to go? Or does it take you away? And if it takes you away, then that's one that we don't take right now. I'm gonna pause, because that's gonna be a tough one sometimes. Because it's gonna look so attractive. People around you are gonna say, man, that one, yeah, you got to do that. But you've got to understand where you're heading and understand when the priority needs to shift and when it does not need to shift. When does it need to change? When I need to look at something else and when I do not. That's going to be a key skill, right? Evaluation, problem solving. I keep saying that problem solving. I think we're going to have to do a show. Maybe we'll do an entire series on problem solving. Oh, yeah. Problem solving, the lost art. So focus, right? Focus. Eliminate the things that don't take us in that direction and prioritize the things that do. And you will have to get good at being able to do that and determining that. So best practices, here's some best practices. So being intentional means protecting your time and energy from unnecessary distractions. Oh, you can't control all the distractions, but you sure can do your best. The things you can't control are going to happen anyway, regardless. But when you can control it, when you can control how much time you spend on the internet, on social media, when you can control when you go to sleep, when you can control other things, then let's do it. What we can control, we control. The other things we allow as best as we can for our schedule and for our structure to take over from there. That's why structure is so important. That's why rhythm, alignment, and structure is so important. Okay. So use time blocking to protect your deep work. There are some things that you're going to have to put your brain to. You're going to have to put your energy to. Protect that time. Block it off. Don't let anything interfere with it. Say, no. I can talk to you about that, but not right now. Okay? And I'm going to turn around because they got some yard work going on right here. And head back in this direction. So let's protect our time. Let's do the best job that we can. What we can control, let's control it. The other things is going to happen anyway, but we can mitigate it. Say no to things that don't align with your goals, right? That's the idea of getting rid of those things that are distractions. And then limit social media, limit TV, or other time-wasting activities. Whoa. It is so easy to fall into this trap. I've done it. I've gotten on, for example, when I'm looking at things on my YouTube channel or look at some of my social media platforms, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check to see if anybody has a question. I'm gonna go check to see if this video posted. And I'll get on there and I'll look at that for a couple of minutes. And then boom, something pops up and there I go. I'm down the rabbit hole. So be intentional about that. You know, set limits to how long you're going to be on social media and watching TV and other things that don't take us in that direction. This is not when we talk about relaxation and we talk about doing those things that help us decompress. This is not what we're talking about. Because I went to the movies with my son and one of his friends. Why? Because it was time to connect. It was time for us to have a good time together. It was time for us to relax. And so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the wasted time that we spend in looking at social media and TV. And sometimes it's an escape. Whoa. It's an escape because we're looking at some task that we don't want to do. We're procrastinating, we are avoiding, we are buffering. And so because we're doing that, then we're spending time on social media. Yeah, let's be honest. So we don't want to waste time on those platforms because they don't serve us well. They don't serve us in taking us to where we want to go. And then you want to execution. Everything that you do, everything that you learn is just theory. It's just theory until you infuse it with action. You are the driving force. You are the power behind the things that we learn. It's just theory sitting there on the shelf, on the YouTube channel, in the video. It's just theory in your journal. But when you put action to it, then you are infusing it with the ability to make change. So execute, execute, execute. Take purposeful action every single day. That's why this 100-day walk is so important, because you are intentionally making a decision that you are going to put your health, your success first. I am prioritizing walking. I'm prioritizing rowing. I'm prioritizing changing my mindset and learning and expanding and growing and becoming more resilient and self-confident and all the things we've talked about. Yep. You are prioritizing those. And if you do that every single day, if you show up every single day, then you begin to see traction. You begin to see motion. You begin to see movement. You begin to see the benefits that you say that you want. Yeah? So make sure that you're doing that. So execution. Intentionality isn't just about planning. It's not just about writing it down and coming up with a SMART goal. Intentionality is about behavior and about action and taking decisive, effective, efficient action. Decisive, effective, efficient. D. Taking those actions, because when you do that, you're infusing what you're learning with power. The power to change, the power to create, the power to move, the power to adjust, when you are putting those things into action. A key thought here. So what you do repeatedly shapes your future. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. They taught us that in physics. You remember we talked about the fact that things that happen don't really have power. The things that happen, they don't have power until we infuse them with a meaning. And so here, what you do ultimately is a reflection of your interpretation. It's a reflection of your feeling, which is a reflection of your emotion, which is a reflection of the meaning that you gave that thing. And so if we are down the stream and there's a behavior that we're doing, that behavior is actually going to lead to whatever consequence or success, right? Well, where did it come from? It came from the emotions, which came from the feeling, which came from the meaning that we assigned. And so if we're going to be successful, if downstream we're going to have actions that have meaning for our success, then it has to be infused with a meaning, a feeling, an emotion. When we talk about making it emotional, that's why, because the stuff that happens down the road are a direct result of the emotions and the feelings that we have up here. So every action should be meaningful. It should be helping you head in the direction that you say that you want to go in. Because if it's not, then we are not being intentional about doing the things we have to do to be successful. Got it? Awesome. All right, so how do we go about doing this? How do we go about being intentional? I'm kind of regathering here, regrouping. Let's see, so we got some cars coming, so let me stop here for a sec. All right, there we go. So how do we build an intentional mindset? Well, number one, we want to start the day with purpose. Ooh. Remember that routine we talked about? We want to start the day with purpose. The way you start your morning sets the tone for every single day. What's the rhythm of your life? What is the structure of your life? Rhythm and structure. What's the tenure of your life? And what's the stuff you put in place? So that when you start the day well, you end the day well. When you start the day with purpose, you end the day with purpose and with fulfillment. So what is your morning routine? Every morning, set clear intentions for what's going to happen today. This is not just a random day that's coming and we're just going to see what happens. No. When we see what happens, happens. Right? We're not just going to see what happens today. What's one thing that I can do today that's going to help me in my direction, in my success? As you're sitting down to come up with your plan, that's a question to ask. What am I going to do today that's taking me in the direction I want to go? So every time I get up, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today for my walk? What do I have to do today? What am I teaching? What am I doing today for my journey? What am I doing for limitless living? What am I doing today that's taking me in the direction I want to go? You want to ask that question. Number 2, you want to practice mindful decision making. Mindful decision making. You're not just doing stuff just because. Before you make a decision, before you make a choice, ask yourself, does this align with my goals? When we're setting policies, when we're making decisions in the office, does it align with our practice exists to evaluate, educate, and treat patients with endocrine disorders? Right? Does it align with that? Does it help us with, we will use innovative technologies to help our customers reach their goal. Our practice will be the premier endocrinology practice in North Alabama for results and customer satisfaction. Boom, 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 boom. What are we doing? Does it align with that? So whenever you're making decisions, you want to be mindful. Is this worth time and is it worth my energy? So there are things that are going to come that are going to take you in the direction you want to go. Man, this clearly is something that takes me in that direction. But this decision versus the decision next to it, which one is worth my time and my energy? Because not all decisions that take you in that direction are worth the time and energy. Because they move you in such micro steps. When we talk about what is one decision you can make that gives you the biggest bang for your buck? For me, I told you, it's sleep. Get rest. If I can get rest, enough rest, my creativity and my energy, my focus, my direction explodes. It's like that supercomputer brain starts moving. When I'm not rested, I am not as creative, I'm not as resilient, I am not as fun to be around, I'll tell you that. So what is one thing you can do that will give you the biggest bang for your buck? And is it taking you in the direction that you say you want to go? And if it does, yeah, let's spend some time with that, right? So we want to start the day with purpose. We want to be mindful in our decision making. We want to reflect and adjust, and look down. We want to be mindful, we want to reflect, and we want to adjust regularly. All right? So we want to be mindful, we want to reflect, we want to adjust regularly. Successful people constantly evaluate what they're doing, where they're heading, whether they need to make a change. And if we're going to be successful, we have to get into the practice of regularly doing that. Otherwise, we can find ourselves down the road and have to backtrack when we could easily have avoided that pitfall and gone in the direction that was consistent with where we want to go. All right, so make sure that we're reflecting and we're adjusting. So at the end of the day, reflect on the things that happened that day, which is why I love bookending. Bookending says I'm starting the day with some activity, and then I'm ending the day with some activity. And the questions that I'm asking is, did I act with intentionality today? Did I do today the things that I needed to do in terms of being intentional? And what could I do differently tomorrow? Notice that. I'm going to go over here. Well, there's not really a good spot. There's some noise over there and there's wind over here. So let's go to the wind. So am I being intentional? Did I function intentionally today? Did I say it? Yep. One of my favorite conversations. Oh yeah, it is. You know that. Well, we can't ever do this without doing our challenges, right? So let's go ahead and pull out your journal and let's get to the challenge. Well, we're writing, right? So write down your current top priority goals. We've been talking about goals. We've been talking about priority. We've been talking about vision. So what is your top priority goal for your life? What is it for this project, for this success, for today, for the next year, for the next 5 years? What is your top priority? What's the most important thing that you're working on? All right, notice I started with your life. I started with your project. What is it right now that's on your priority list? And then identify one daily habit that supports that goal. What is it? What's one thing that you can do on a daily basis that supports this goal that you said that you have, right? What is something that you could take, action you could take on a daily basis that moves you closer to that goal? And then you want to eliminate one distraction that pulls you away. Each day we have things that we go through. Each day there are distractions that come up. And so what's one thing that you can eliminate from your list that's a distraction that takes you down the path that's not consistent with where you want to go? You want to write about that. And then you want to journal. I want you to write. I want you to explain this idea that you have. I want you to explain where things are changing. I want you to explain why you took that one thing off. I want you to explain what the priority is. Right? Don't just let this be a static exercise. You want to make sure that you are putting time and thought and that you're putting emotions to it. Well, I'm always excited when I'm here, when you're here with me, because that means that you have decided to prioritize yourself. You are doing the things that are necessary to be successful. And every day you show up, every day you're here, you are making a decision, you're making a statement, and you're adding to the strength of your consistency. I'm glad that you joined me for this another day in our amazing discussion. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow, we'll see you on day number 86. Make sure you're doing the challenges, right? I had to come back and see that. But we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you on the walk.